Hey gang, Dal here this morning. It's about 11 o'clock on a Thursday, semi-sunny Thursday morning. Things are loosening up on the quarantine. I'll tell you what, you may be asking why I'm drinking a beer. It's not even noon on a work day, and I'll tell you, it's been, the quarantine's been bad. We had about 5 days of drizzle, gray days, and I just needed a little sunshine. I also wanted to take a little bit of time to speak to you on a little bit different stuff. I'm down here at a place on our property I call Cowboy Bohemia. It's kind of a cool little story about this. This land's been in my family since the 1930s when my grandfather bought it. It lays on the Salt Fork River, ultimately of course dumps into the Mississippi miles and miles and miles from here. The cool story about this property, though, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I am proud of it and I like it, is years ago. Now it's years ago, the property was really hard to get to. If you wanted to get here, you couldn't drive. You had to park and walk about 2 miles back into it. And during the late 60s, when there was hippies and communes, my grandfather was down here looking for stray cattle one time and came across about this very location, a commune of hippies living here that had backpacked in. And he said he was riding his horse up the river looking for cattle, and a bunch of little naked kids playing in the river came by. So he said, it's quite a deal. It's also on the main crossing for the Chisholm Trail when they moved the loadout to Dodge City. So it's kind of cool. I've got an old boxcar here. This is kind of a historic feature in our part of the country where an old gentleman lived in it along the highway years ago. We got it when we represented the landowner and they were going to widen the highway and go tear it up, so we moved it down here. Really pretty cool. So anyway, here's what I got on my mind today. There's a saying, and I'm not disagreeing with it, I've just got a little bit different take on it. There's a saying, don't put your effort into things, put your effort into yourself. And I'm going to make and I agree with that, don't get me wrong. I'm just giving you a little bit different twist, a little bit different thought on it. Through my nearly 25 years of legal practice, my 10 years of business background before then, my observations of people, and my law practice is so cool because it exposes me to my clients, their thoughts. It exposes me to my clients' adversaries, their representatives, and I get to sit there and watch and see things that very few people have an opportunity to. And I'm not bragging on myself, believe me. But I view the world differently, and it isn't, when I have a transaction, it's not just me trying to make that transaction work, but I'm sitting there watching, observing, saying, why are these people doing the things they're doing? Why this, why that? And I'm trying to learn from it, not just for that transaction, but future transactions, for just knowledge and understanding. Because honestly, I see a lot of crazy things. I do. And in my experience, I've seen empires and fortunes and men come, and I've seen them go. I've seen family fortunes and businesses that you would think could never fail. That never in a million years would you say that business is going to fail. And it does. And you watch those people, how they react to it. And some of them persevere, some of them don't. And I've always wondered why that is. I've also, on the other hand, seen businesses that come that you think this would never work. Never in a million years. Or I meet a person who is going to start something or do something, and I'm so, I hate to sound crude, underimpressed with him. I'm thinking, man, it's just not going to work for these people. And you're surprised in the end when it does, and how they persevered and how they survived. So what I want to talk about today is a take on that. Put your effort into yourself, not into your stuff. And what I'm going to talk about is what I call derivative power and personal power. And it goes like this. People who put their effort into assets, be it tangible assets or intangible assets, investments, business, so many of them, now clearly they had to have a certain amount of stamina, heart, work ethic, ambition to get those assets. But they are deriving their current power from them. So if you've got a wealthy person and they use that wealth to either the giving of the wealth or the holding back of the wealth to encourage or discourage a certain behavior in somebody, that is what I call a derivative power. And I'm talking real quick. When I talk about man, I'm not talking about men in general. I'm talking about men and women. I'm just using that term generically. Some people have derivative power from money. Some people have derivative power from positions they hold. They may be elected to office. They may be a boss. They may have some kind of status, some kind of notoriety. Then there are other people who, whether they have assets or this other power, they just are. They have what I call a personal power, and that is they've got power to influence their life, to live their life on their terms, regardless of whether they have money, had money and lost it, whether they have a position or don't have a position. And it's really important in life, and I'll be honest, this is a real touchy subject for me, because I'll be honest, I spent at least 20 years of my life trying to acquire wealth, trying to acquire power, and I don't mean personal power, power to that I could use, and I finally realized I was after that derivative power, that I was instead of just taking stock of who I was personally and saying, I'm going to be a man of, and I don't want to say this about myself, but integrity, of work ethic, for work's sake, of whatever, and that I was going to control my life irrespective of whether I had money, position, power or not. That's what I wanted to be, because I knew if you have those things, if you have money, a position of power, be it an elected official, a job, title, if you lose that, and that is where you were deriving your power from, your confidence from, your esteem from, that is gone. And again, while there clearly had to be some of that to get to that position, you don't just get there by hope and goodwill, but you are losing so much in life, that as opposed to if you just got this power within you to say, it doesn't matter if I'm currently rich or poor. It doesn't matter if I'm currently in a position, elected or not, or if I ever am, or with a job title where I control lots of people's daily activities, their thoughts, what they do, whatever, that I'm going to be in control of my life. And I'm going to live my life on my terms, not somebody else's. And again, I've seen it so many times. As a young man, I saw fortunes lost. And I saw these people when they had it, and they were seemingly powerful people, powerful personalities. They had the ability to make decisions, to seemingly see the future, see what business held, what it didn't hold. And then when it was gone, I seen them fall apart. I see them, some of them in fact, come into my office now, and I see this person that I saw when I was a young man, that it just seemed so invulnerable to anything. And I see a different side of them. I see that they weren't as intelligent as I thought they were, that they weren't as ambitious as I thought they were, that they weren't as didn't have the heart that I thought they did. And again, I said, I don't want to be one of those people. And I hope you don't either. Because if you're deriving it from something else, that object, that thing can always be taken away. And there's so many things that people derive their power, their call this derivative power. And I don't know if anyone's ever said it in these terms or not. I don't think so, but I'm not taking credit for it. But I see people derive it from their spouse. There may be a gentleman who's average and he's got a very attractive wife, and he derives, instead of just loving her for who she is, and that being what it is, he derives power from her beauty. Same thing goes, it could be a woman who derives power from her husband's beauty, her husband's job, his status, from a family status. It can be, again, it can be money, it can be success, notoriety, fame. And when those things are gone, that power that they had, and I don't mean power in a negative sense. I'm not talking about power to upset people's lives or anything like that, but just that power to live their life, to be, I'm part of this world in some way, is gone. And again, if you could say no, irregardless of these things, I am going to be what I am, irregardless of my success, my notoriety, my fame, the attractiveness or unattractiveness of my spouse. Recently, before coronavirus, I was in Atlanta, and I was walking around, and a homeless guy stopped me, and we were talking, and this guy obviously was homeless, and he had more charisma and more personal power than I have seen in a long time. In a long time. And I was at a conference there about leadership, about building yourself up, and of all the speakers who were worth millions, who had millions of YouTube followers, social media that was incredible, I have to say that homeless man, despite not having any money, had more what I call personal power and just charisma and attitude than any of those guys. Frankly, maybe more than any of those guys put together. Now, obviously there was an issue. I don't know what it was. I didn't ask him, and nor did he tell me, whether he had a drug problem, an emotional problem. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. But it was amazing, and it stuck with me this past couple of months. And it all wraps into this. So anyway, think about it. When you're looking at somebody, and I'm sure most people do, I know I do, I still do. I look at people who have the life that if I was going to draw in the perfect world, let's see, I'm just going to imagine this world. I'm going to imagine this life and what it is and what I want to be and how I want to live it. I see these people, and it's easy to gloss over their faults or strengths and just assume, hey, they've got it all together and life is good. But the older I get, the more I look into that, and I say, what kind of person is that really? If you took away that thing that makes them popular, powerful, wealthy, would they come back? Would they be a broken person? Would they be the same person? And it's been insightful, because I can see things that I've learned that I can say, that person is not a good role model, even though they outwardly have what I would like to have. They've went where I would like to go. You can look at it and say, I think based on what that person's saying, what they're acting like, implications in their voice, and the way they reference either themselves or their possessions or whatever it is, you say, that person is deriving their power not from within them, but they're deriving it from their success, from everything else. And again, personally, I don't want to be that kind of guy. I hope you won't either. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find this insightful. Hey guys, have a good afternoon. I know I'm going to.